Very few people know that a seemingly harmless habit like bathing in the early morning can become a cause of death in the elderly. After age 70, the body undergoes many silent but worrying physiological changes, especially in blood pressure, thermoregulation, and nerve reflexes. These factors, when combined with the slippery environment in the bathroom, create a seriously dangerous situation if the elderly person is not careful when bathing. The case of Mr. Robert Ellison, 75 years old, is heartbreaking proof of that. As a healthy person, living independently in a quiet suburb, Mr. Robert still exercises regularly, fully complies with his regular health checkup schedule, and is completely alert. However, one morning his son discovered him lying unconscious on the bathroom floor, a place that was familiar and seemingly safe. According to doctors, the main cause of the incident was because he took a bath at the exact time that was determined to be the most dangerous time of the day for the elderly. Unfortunately, his family did not know that this familiar behavior, bathing in the early morning, was potentially deadly. And what's more worrying is that many other elderly people are also repeating this habit every day without even knowing it. Therefore, the information that follows will address the specific times of day that make bathing especially dangerous for people over 70, along with simple but urgent adjustments that can help prevent a similar tragedy from happening to you or someone you love. This is not just a matter of convenience or habit. This is an issue directly related to safety and life. Recent medical studies have shown that timing from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. is the most dangerous time of the day for the elderly when performing activities related to changes in body temperature and blood pressure, especially bathing. For people 70 and older, bathing during this time can increase the risk of serious accidents by up to 80%. This is an alarming number but is not properly understood by many elderly people and their families. According to cardiovascular experts at Harvard Medical School, during this time, the elderly body is undergoing natural but dangerous physiological changes. After a long night of sleep, blood pressure often drops. However, in the early morning, the body experiences a sudden increase in blood pressure, called morning hypertension. When combined with the sudden change in temperature when entering the shower, especially with hot water, this puts great pressure on the cardiovascular system. This is the physiological perfect storm, easily leading to fainting, stroke, or serious falls. A notable example is the case of Linda McCarthy, 72 years old, living in Chicago. As someone who always adheres to the habit of starting the day with an early shower at 6 a.m., Ms. Linda feels healthy and active. However, one morning, she suddenly felt dizzy and fell in the bathroom. As a result, she broke her hip and had to stay in the hospital for many weeks. Doctors concluded that the timing of her shower was the main contributing factor to the accident. If she had showered later in the day, the possibility of a serious accident could have been greatly reduced. This is not a rare case. In fact, many elderly people still maintain the habit of bathing early in the morning because they think it helps them feel more refreshed and alert. However, that time is when the body is weakest, has the worst reflexes, and is easily affected by sudden physiological changes. The solution given is clear and easy to implement. Change your shower time to the time from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, when your blood pressure is more stable, your body temperature is gradually increasing, and your body has had time to adapt to the state of alertness. You can write a reminder on a Post-it note and stick it on your bathroom mirror to remember this change in schedule. This is not a recommended option. After age 70, adjusting bath time is an essential change to protect the safety of yourself or your loved ones in the family. Just a small change in daily routine can be the deciding factor between an ordinary morning and a serious medical accident. One of the important physiological changes, but less noticed in the elderly, is the obvious decline in the ability to regulate body temperature. When young, the body has the ability to quickly adapt to changes in environmental temperature, especially in hot or cold conditions. However, after the age of 70, the thermoregulation system becomes much less effective, making exposure to hot water or sudden changes in temperature a serious risk factor when bathing. According to the American Journal of Geriatric Medicine, the ability of the elderly to self-regulate their body temperature weakens over time, and this phenomenon becomes especially evident in the early morning. This is the time when the body's core temperature is at its lowest level of the day. Stepping into a shower with hot water while your body is still cold from a night's sleep not only causes heat stroke, but also increases the burden on the cardiovascular system. The heart has to work harder to adapt to that sudden change, and for many elderly people, this can be more than the body can handle. The case of Mr. George Whitman, 83 years old, is a typical example. As a person with a history of mild heart disease but still living independently, Mr. George often takes a hot bath at 5:45 a.m. to start the day. During one such bath, he suddenly felt dizzy, had difficulty breathing, and collapsed in the bathroom. When he was taken to the hospital, doctors diagnosed him as having experienced an acute arrhythmia due to heat stroke. It is worth mentioning that this accident can be completely prevented if you change the water temperature and bathing time to suit your physical condition. Many elderly people still keep the habit of bathing in hot water because it feels more comfortable, especially in the morning when the body is still cold. However, that immediate relief sometimes masks a hidden danger to the cardiovascular system. Exposure to water that is too hot while the body's thermoregulation system is no longer flexible enough can cause low blood pressure, loss of balance, heart arrhythmia, or even fainting and death. To prevent this dangerous situation, elderly people should adjust the bath water temperature to a moderately warm level, ideally around 35 to 38 degrees Celsius. In addition, installing an anti-thermal burn device in the shower is also a necessary safety measure. These devices not only help maintain a stable temperature, but also prevent sudden changes that can be dangerous. This is a small investment but brings great value to health and safety. If you are not sure how to install it, ask your children, grandchildren, neighbors, or a repairman for help as soon as possible. Temperature-related incidents are often unannounced and often occur unexpectedly. Therefore, proactive prevention is absolutely necessary. A small change in the way you adjust your bathwater temperature each day can make a big difference in protecting your heart health and maintaining personal safety. Let's start doing this today. For the elderly, the use of blood pressure medication is an indispensable part of daily healthcare regimen. However, very few people realize that the timing of taking the medication can unintentionally create a dangerous situation if combined with an early morning shower. The coincidence between the effects of the drug and the body's natural physiological changes in the morning can lead to serious, even life-threatening consequences. Cardiologists at the Mayo Clinic have warned that many popular blood pressure medications, such as lisinopril or amlodipine, begin to have their strongest effects about 1 to 2 hours after taking them. Coincidentally, this is also the time when elderly people's blood pressure tends to naturally decrease when they wake up. When these two factors combine, and the patient simultaneously takes a bath, especially a hot bath, it can lead to a double drop in blood pressure. As a result, blood circulation to the brain is insufficient, making elderly people susceptible to dizziness, fainting, and falling in the bathroom, where the risk of injury is very high. The case of Mrs. Eleanor Brooks, 76 years old, is a notable example. She usually starts her day by taking her blood pressure medication as soon as she wakes up, then showers at 7 a.m. as part of her consistent routine. For months, she experienced dizziness and loss of balance without understanding the cause. It was only when she fell in the bathroom and had to be hospitalized that doctors discovered that the combination of blood pressure medication and early showering was the main cause. After adjusting her routine by showering later in the morning and at least 3 hours before taking the medicine, her symptoms completely disappeared. This is a very serious problem because it happens silently and is often overlooked. Many elderly people, despite taking the correct dose and type of medicine, are not given specific advice about the relationship between the time of taking the medicine and their daily activities. This leads to the formation of potentially high-risk habits without the patient even knowing. The solution recommended by experts is very clear. Elderly people should absolutely avoid bathing within 2 hours after taking blood pressure medication. Instead, you should build a reasonable living chart, clearly dividing the time for taking medication and the time for bathing during the day. More importantly, proactively contact your doctor to get accurate advice on when to take medication that suits your personal circadian rhythm and daily habits. Changing your routine may seem simple, but it is vital. A small adjustment, such as delaying your shower time by a few hours after taking your medication, can help prevent falls, injuries, and serious cardiovascular complications. Don't wait until an accident happens to realize this connection. Take action today to protect the long-term health and safety of yourself or a family member. One of the factors that gets little attention, but the biggest impact on the safety of the elderly in the morning, is dehydration after a night's sleep. While sleeping, the body continues to function and excrete water through the breath and skin, leading to the loss of a certain amount of fluid that is not compensated for many hours. This is why many elderly people wake up in the morning dehydrated without even realizing it. This dehydration, combined with standing up suddenly, moving quickly, or showering immediately after waking up, can create a dangerous chain reaction for the circulatory system and brain. According to geriatric experts at Johns Hopkins University, when the body is dehydrated, the amount of blood circulating will decrease, leading to lower than normal blood pressure. If the elderly get up and shower immediately after waking up, especially under hot water, blood tends to rush to the lower limbs. As a result, blood flow to the brain is reduced, causing dizziness, loss of balance, and even fainting. This phenomenon is called postural hypotension, and it is one of the leading causes of bathroom falls in older adults. Mr. Leonard Harris, 77 years old, is a typical example of this case. For many years, he always felt slightly dizzy and unsteady when showering in the morning, but thought it was just a normal sign of fatigue. It wasn't until he fell in the bathroom one morning and had to be hospitalized that doctors determined the underlying cause was dehydration that persisted overnight. After being instructed to drink a full glass of water about 15 to 20 minutes before bathing, the symptoms of dizziness completely disappeared, and he never had a similar incident again. Many elderly people believe that an unclear feeling of thirst in the morning means that the body does not need additional water yet. However, the reality is that the ability to feel thirst also declines with age. Therefore, not feeling thirsty does not mean that the body's not lacking water. Therefore, elderly people need to proactively establish the habit of regularly replenishing water every morning, especially before performing any physical activities such as walking quickly, going up and down stairs, or bathing. A simple but effective solution is to start each day with a full glass of water. You can place a glass of water or small water bottle in your bedroom or bathroom to make it easy to remember. Adding water before bathing not only helps stabilize blood pressure, but also significantly reduces the risk of dizziness, falls, or potential cardiovascular complications. This is a small step in your daily routine, but has a big impact on your daily safety. Keep in mind that a dehydrated body is always more vulnerable, especially when faced with temperature changes, water pressure, and slippery conditions in the bathroom. Don't wait until your body sends out abnormal signals to begin to change. Take proactive precautions from today to preserve your health and safety every time you start a new day. One of the factors that causes accidents in the bathroom, it becomes especially dangerous for the elderly in the early morning because it is slow to be detected and rescued promptly. Many people think that if there is a fall or incident in the house, relatives or neighbors will quickly detect it. However, reality shows that incidents that occur between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. are often ignored for a long time because this is simply the time when most family members are still sleeping, have not woken up, or have not contacted each other. According to reports from geriatric emergency specialists in the United States, the ability to survive and recover from a serious fall depends greatly on the time of detection and medical access, especially within the first hour, also known as the golden hour of emergency care. If the victim is not detected promptly during this time, the risk of severe complications, hypothermia, blood loss, organ damage, or death will increase significantly. This becomes even more dangerous when the incident occurs in a bathroom, where the person who falls may be lying on a wet floor, unable to move on their own, and vulnerable to cold or exhaustion. The case of Mrs. Margaret Jensen, 73 years old, is a specific illustration. Early one morning, she woke up at 5 o'clock and went to the bathroom as usual. Unfortunately, she lost her balance and fell hard to the floor. Because she lived alone and it was not time for neighbors to come over like usual, she was not discovered by anyone until nearly 9 a.m. When she was taken to the hospital, she was in a state of severe hypothermia with hip damage and could no longer walk on her own. Doctors said if she had been discovered about an hour earlier, the extent of the damage could have been significantly reduced. Situations like the above are not rare, especially in people who live alone or do not have the habit of contacting relatives in the morning. The danger lies in the fact that accidents often happen in silence and completely unexpectedly. A person who has fallen may not be able to call for help or reach a phone while injured, especially if the body's wet and the surroundings are slippery. In many cases, victims lie in wait for many hours before anyone discovers them, and that time is enough for their health condition to become critical. The practical solution is that the elderly should proactively equip water-resistant emergency alarm devices located right in the bathing area. These devices often come in the form of push buttons or wrist straps, making them easy to use even in emergency situations. In addition, you should establish a regular checkup schedule with a trusted relative or neighbor, especially if you live alone. Just a check-in call or text every morning can make a big difference in staying safe. Don't underestimate the first few minutes after a fall. Failure to call for help promptly can be the thin line between an incident that is handled safely and a serious complication with long-term consequences. Be proactive in planning your response and ensure that if an incident occurs, you or your loved ones always have the opportunity to be detected and rescued promptly. This is an essential preparation step, especially for the elderly. A passing factor and important but common overlooked in ensuring the safety of the elderly while bathing is the decline in cognitive function in the early morning. After age 65, the brain begins to experience changes in information processing speed, reflexes, and decision-making ability. When combined with the state of just waking up and not being fully awake, the risk of accidents in slippery environments like the bathroom increases significantly. Studies by neuroscientists at Stanford University have shown that between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m., elderly people's cognitive function is at its lowest level of the day. Specifically, reaction speed, ability to assess situations and reflexes to handle emergency situations are slowed by up to 30% compared to the time from mid-morning to early afternoon. This is the time when the brain is still transitioning from a resting state to an active state, and this process happens more slowly in older people than in younger people. When in the bathroom, where every action requires attention and quick reflexes, such as adjusting water temperature, maintaining balance, or dealing with a slip, cognitive impairment can become a direct cause of accidents. A heartbreaking case is Mr. Franklin Moore, 79 years old, who was very lucid and careful in his daily activities. However, during a shower at 6 a.m., he did not realize that the water temperature had exceeded the safe level. Due to slow reflexes and lack of timely awareness, he suffered severe burns and had to be treated at the hospital for many days. After the incident, he admitted that if he had bathed at noon as usual, he would have definitely noticed the abnormality immediately. This situation is not unique. In fact, many elderly people have difficulty recognizing simple dangers such as water that is too hot, a wet floor, or the initial feeling of dizziness. That's not because they lack skills or safety awareness, but because their brains in the early morning are not completely ready to handle unexpected situations. In an enclosed and vulnerable space like the bathroom, this creates a huge potential hazard. The specific solution recommended by experts is to set a fixed shower time between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. This is when the body and brain are completely awake, and cognitive abilities and reflexes are at their optimal level during the day. In addition, the elderly can use a bath timer with an alarm to limit the time spent in a wet environment, thereby minimizing the risk of prolonged exposure when cognitive ability is impaired. It is important not to underestimate the role the mind plays in staying safe in daily activities. Even if you are physically healthy, if your brain is not in good working condition, your ability to handle situations will be seriously affected. Choosing a safe time to shower is not simply a change in time, but also a way to proactively protect yourself by taking advantage of the time when the body operates most effectively. Remember that safety does not come from luck, but from preparation and proper understanding. By choosing the right time to shower and adapting your routine to your circadian rhythm, you've taken an important step in maintaining your health, independence, and quality of life every day. Risks involved. Early morning bathing in the elderly is no longer a speculation or a vague warning. These are facts that have been confirmed through medical research, through specific data, and especially through regretful true stories that many families have witnessed. After the age of 70, the human body becomes more sensitive and vulnerable, and seemingly small factors such as bathing time, water temperature, or taking blood pressure medication become the deciding factor between safety and a serious accident. As stated, showering between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. can significantly increase the risk of falls, stroke, low blood pressure, arrhythmia, and other serious injuries. These accidents often happen suddenly and silently, and many cases are not detected in time for effective intervention. The cause does not lie in subjectivity or carelessness, but in lack of information and lack of appropriate adjustments to physical condition with age. However, the positive point is that all of the above risks can be prevented with simple but very effective adjustment steps. Shifting your shower time to between 10 a.m. and early afternoon is one of the easiest measures to take. In addition, elderly people need to drink water before bathing to avoid dehydration. Use warm water instead of water that is too hot. Separate the time of taking blood pressure medication and the time of bathing. And install safety equipment such as anti-slip mats, night sensor lights, and emergency call buttons in the bathroom. These changes do not require large costs, nor do they disrupt daily activities, but they can make a huge difference. That difference is preventing a fall, a medical emergency, or even an irreparable loss. Elderly people can completely live independently, autonomously, and safely if they are fully equipped with information and supported in taking appropriate preventive measures. Adjusting bath time is not a restriction, but a proactive action to preserve health and freedom in daily life. That is smart and necessary preparation to pass old age safely, firmly, and respectfully. If you are a senior, start adjusting today. If you are a grandchild or caregiver, share this information with your parents, grandparents, and other family members. Make sure the people you love have enough knowledge to protect themselves during a seemingly normal but potentially dangerous activity. Just one conversation, a note stuck on the bathroom mirror, or a device installed at the right time can save a life. Old age is not only worth living, but also needs to be lived safely and fully. And that starts with making the right choices in the seemingly simplest things. After all the information has been presented, one thing becomes clear and undeniable. Bathing early in the morning after the age of 70 is no longer a simple habitual activity, but an action that can potentially threaten health and life. From blood pressure disorders, the ability to regulate body temperature, slow reflexes, to the effects of medication and dehydration when first waking up, all create a series of risk factors that converge at the beginning of the day. And the most worrying thing is that most of those risks happen silently, without clear warning signs until the unfortunate incident has occurred. However, what gives us peace of mind is the ability to completely prevent those risks with very simple changes in our daily activities. Just by changing bath time from early morning to mid-morning, elderly people can minimize the risk of bathroom accidents. Drinking a glass of water before bathing, using moderately warm water, separating medication taking time and bathing time, installing safety support devices, and maintaining regular contact with loved ones are all practical, easy to implement, and extremely effective measures. It is important for seniors and their families to realize that prevention should not wait until an accident occurs before taking action. Proactively adjusting your habits from today is the way to protect your safety and maintain a long-term, healthy, and independent life. No change is too small when it comes to survival. Just a few minutes to change your routine or a small investment in bathroom amenities can be the deciding factor between a peaceful day and a serious health event. Elderly people deserve to live in safety, respect, and initiative. The changes proposed in this text are not burdens, but actions born of understanding and love. Whether you or a family member is entering old age, making these adjustments is necessary and worthy of priority. Safety in personal activities is not something to be taken for granted, especially as age makes the body gradually become more sensitive to small changes in the environment. But with the right preparation, everyone can minimize risks and live an independent, confident, and peaceful old age. And it can all start with just one simple decision: changing your shower time.